It was a dark winter night. The moon hid behind thick clouds, and the forest was enveloped in a deathly silence. In an old mansion, 7 friends had gathered, driven by curiosity and excitement. The group was known for their fascination with urban legends. This time, they had stumbled upon an ancient book and decided to perform a ritual following its instructions. The mansion, located deep within the woods outside the town, had been abandoned for decades. According to local lore, the original owners had conducted sinister rituals there, but had mysteriously vanished one fateful night. These stories only fueled the group's excitement. Gathered in the grand hall, they had drawn a circle on the floor, surrounded it with strange symbols, and placed black candles around its edges. They followed every step laid out in the book. Emma, the unofficial leader of the group, read the incantations aloud, her voice steady yet trembling. "Is everyone ready?" Emma whispered. Nobody responded, but each held onto the book's fragile, crumbling pages with a mix of fear and anticipation. The ritual began. Minutes passed, and an eerie tension filled the air. The flickering candle flames cast shadows that seemed to move independently of the group's motions. Outside, the sound of howling winds intensified. The atmosphere grew so heavy it was difficult to breathe. Suddenly, Liam noticed something, a dark silhouette near the doorway. "Is someone there?" he called out. His voice echoed back as if mocking him, but there was no reply. At that moment, a gust of wind extinguished all the candles, plunging the room into total darkness. The group huddled together, their ragged breaths the only sound. But the silence didn't last long. From the walls, whispers emerged, growing louder and more menacing with each passing second. The words were incomprehensible, yet they felt deeply unnatural. "We need to get out of here," Jason shouted, his voice quivering. But just as he spoke, an ominous shape appeared in the window, followed by a violent crash. The windows slammed shut, and the door seemed to be forcibly sealed by an unseen force. Hundreds of shadows began to creep across the walls, moving as though alive. These shadows defied logic, twisting and writhing of their own accord. One of the candles reignited, but its flame was pitch black. The fire traced a symbol on the floor, a symbol straight out of the legends they had read. "Stay calm," Emma shouted, her voice tinged with desperation. But her words only seemed to mock the growing dread in the room. The whispers crescendoed, and suddenly, the center of the circle caved in, forming a dark, swirling vortex. From the pit emanated a nauseating stench of burning flesh. Out of the shadows, a figure emerged, a humanoid form that was both familiar and utterly alien. It resembled a being Emma had read about in the book. The entity approached Emma, stopping inches from her face. She froze in terror as it spoke, its voice slithering into her mind like poison-tipped daggers. "Release me," it demanded. Its words resonated with a dreadful finality, as though each syllable carried the weight of death. "Or else." The entity's voice trailed off as the room seemed to twist and bend under an invisible pressure. The group realized they were dealing with a force far beyond their comprehension. The floor trembled, and the book slipped from Emma's trembling hands. As it hit the ground, a burst of dark energy illuminated the entire room. Liam, barely holding it together, instinctively grabbed the fallen book and flipped it open to a random page. His eyes locked onto a glowing symbol. The book seemed to whisper a single word: oblivion. Panicking, Liam began to read the words beneath the symbol. This time, the entity's expression shifted, a chilling mixture of mockery and fury. "Do you understand?" The shadow roared. "This was a test. You were mere pawns." With that, the entire room dissolved like an illusion. The walls, candles, and shadows vanished, leaving the group disoriented. They found themselves on a desolate beach. The book floated on the waves, its pages glowing faintly as it drifted away into the dark sea. "What was that?" Emma asked, her voice barely a whisper, her wide eyes still reflecting the terror she felt. Jason, gasping for air, replied, "I think we were tampering with reality itself." But none of them dared to retrieve the book. Instead, they watched in silence as it disappeared into the ocean, praying it would never be found again. The fear of that night lingered like a shadow over their lives. None of them ever spoke of it again, but deep down, they all felt it, that the entity was still watching, waiting for its next opportunity.